book. And Sandeep, I've never heard of it before.
Never.
So this is a new, like as I say, we do them in series, and the idea is that I've been a coach for 25 years and a teacher, and I've also had to deal with myself, which is by far the worst student I ever had. And so one of the things that I discovered over time, and part of what the word of the day is about, is that 50% of the problem we're having is that we're not in the right state of connection with ourselves. At whatever point we're having a problem that we think is about something else. Is that fair?
Mhm.
And so one of the things that happened to me when I was in Burning Man, which is one of the ways I discovered that this was, good for healing, not just writing. Let me let Marlene in.
Oh, Marlene's here. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Andres is here. Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Hi, Marlene. How are you? You're on mute, but you're looking very youthful tonight.
I'm good.
Thank you so much for joining. Great. So I just was beginning my remarks, and the basic idea of this new seminar is that half of the problem we're having when we're having a problem is that we're out of connection with ourselves. Because we're having the problem. It's sort of one of these paradoxical things that occurs. And so what I discovered when I was at Burning Man, and what I've done for years with people, is find a way. Hi, Andres, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay, and apropos of your email about the program that we might start, we'll talk after. I'll give you a bell after. So the idea behind this new seminar, Chip, to be very specific, is I discovered that one of the best ways to get people to be productive was to take a sidestep before actually working on a problem and taking a few minutes to get yourself in a state of connection.
Mhm.
And this is as a professional practice. And I can't tell you in my long-term work how many producers I would get to do this kind of centering before they went in to give a pitch, to a bunch of Hollywood producers.
Mhm.
Difference was make or break. I mean, there was just no way of avoiding the fact that if they took the time to get grounded in a certain way, specific way that we're going to learn, then the problem was the problem. And the other 50% was the disconnection. And so no matter how overwhelming the problem, it could be dealt with. So I'm going to tell you a story. My wonderful, beloved cousin Susan called me yesterday in a state. Her son-in-law had tried to commit suicide.
Oh, dear.
This is a real young man with a young family, and the world is a very scary place for some people. And that would be bad enough. But Susan has we're relatives, right? So there's certainly a lot in common. And one of them is we have a very long fuse, but a very bad temper when we lose it. And I've known her since I was, like a child. And I took one look at her and I said, Susan, I don't think you're upset. I think you're mad.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I think you feel guilty for being mad. And instead of being, oh, no, you want to kill him. And she said, yes, she said the selfishness of that act with two young children. And she said, in England, you can lose your health insurance,
Mhm.
and without that, you can't take care of yourself or your family. And the moment I saw that, so what we did, and since we're going to do this later, we may as well do it now. So I said, okay, Susan, let's do the hug, stop the conversation. So before we get further, let's get grounded. Okay, and one of the things is if you're sitting like this, please get up and stick out your butt, sit on your sit bones. Feel how your back lengthens. I just had to do it myself. So, again, no one's high and mighty here. And sometimes, Marlene, what I find is if I'm doing what you're doing, if I sit on a pillow and I change the angle, it's a little easier on my back. So I'm going to recommend that you sit on a pillow if you can find one. So basically now you can see how much freedom you have to move, right? Now what this does is it opens your rib cage. And most of us don't breathe very well because we use other parts of our bodies. We use our necks, we use our whatever. So here, if you just take a soft breath, you're going to feel your ribs expand. You can actually touch your ribs if you want to. Then if you exhale gently with the S sound, See how everything lifts up, it just comes together, right? So,
Mm.
and then feel that, feel how centered you are. All right,
Mhm.
so this is something to take on anytime. And now the way that we do the hug, and this is the abbreviated version, Andrea. So we raise up and we gather when we're imagining as we inhale and exhale slowly downwards that we are creating a nice plastic bubble around ourselves or whatever kind of bubble you like, and that it's protecting you from everything, but you are still situationally aware because it's clear. Does that make sense? It's different than a meditative state. It's a reflective state, let's say. You put your hands on your shoulders. Take a breath. And smile, even if you're not in the mood. The wider you smile, the more fake the smile, the more serotonin and dopamine you send to your brain. It's a brain cocktail that occurs because of a physical movement. Okay. Take a breath. Welcome. Okay. And smile. And now close your eyes. Enjoy this nice warm feeling. Again, imagine yourself, you're safe in the bubble, but you're on top of things. And now we're going to say aloud, and you can mumble, but please actually hear yourself. I love you and your name. Ready? I love
I
you.
love you. Yeah.
Okay. We'll always be together.
Be together.
We'll always be safe.
Always be safe.
And we are enough.
We are.
Enough. And take that in, that you are enough. That you are enough. You can protect yourself. You have a stronger self that you can call on. You have all these aspects. You are enough. You're complete in yourself. And anything that anyone has ever told you that is not the case can just go away right now. You are enough. All right. So you can listen to the story in the stage, just smile, relax. If it's comfortable to keep your hands up here, otherwise, just stay connected with yourself and rock a little bit and breathe. And this is something to do, especially when you're writing, we don't breathe when we are concentrating, you know that, right? So to make this a practice, and so again, when you get on the phone, you're distracted, when you're sitting here, just to do this, give yourself the opportunity to breathe is already, giving you a huge edge, even without all the invocations or whatever. So the story is that we did this. And then we did a mental word of the day. Now, Elizabeth, you're new, so are you familiar with the word of the day?
Just what I read briefly.
It's brief. You put a circle in the middle of a page and you free associate around it, and then you write for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you see what you wrote. Right, you filter it. Okay, so yeah, it's just exactly what you read. So what we do at this point is we make a mental circle because we're in a rush and we're not near our desk. So the mental circle, it should in itself be relaxing, is by you mentally tracing it, creating it. Again, brain chemicals, boring neuroscience, but it actually changes what's going on in your brain. Okay, take a breath. And then, so I said to Susan, what is the word that came in for her? And she said, fury. And I said, great. What else comes in? And she said, I have an image of someone stealing money from the church plate, even though I'm Jewish. In right when you get the collection plate is what I mean to say. And then I asked her, and she said, I have an image of someone yanking a dog on a leash and just wanting to. And I said, well, that's great. You can stop there. We have enough. What do you think is going on? And she said, I feel that he is robbing my children. The collection plate, right? I said, that's a pretty good metaphor. And she said, I feel that he is being abusive. That he has got children like you have a dog. And she said, we don't have to have a further conversation about fury. I absolutely think that this is the most selfish thing he's ever done. And at that point, her energy changed. Now, remember, this was, this is a thing that would get you very upset. So she was pretty upset. And suddenly there was this calm. And I said, well, great. She said, I don't know. What did you do? I feel so much better. And I said, well, the short version is that we acknowledge the problem. We didn't judge it. We're not looking at it. Remember, my whole thing is, you don't know me, Elizabeth, but she knows, turn off the self-esteem process. We're all taught to cultivate self-esteem, which means we have this inner mirror installed where we use external ways of judging our own behavior. Make sense? Okay, it will destroy us. So the idea is we go click and we go into self-acknowledgement. Self-acknowledgement is, okay, I'm having what I think is an inappropriate reaction. Instead of being upset and oh, I'm angry. okay, I'm having an inappropriate reaction. It's not a question of whether it is or it isn't. It's you. And she said, oh, that's why I feel better. I'm not having an argument with myself. I'm just feeling what I'm feeling. I'm going to share that with you. That's the key. She was not having an inner argument. You get it? So in that moment, her mind was quiet. And as a result of that, a solution could come in. Does that make sense? As long as she was having the argument, she was over here trying to figure out if she was allowed to feel that way and what was wrong with her, blah, blah, blah. The moment she went, I'm going to be present in self-acknowledgement, which is supported by the physical activity and creating those brain chemicals, she got clear. She said, I know what I'm going to do. And she said, she said, I think there's a way for me to make sure he doesn't lose his medical insurance. I don't know what the details were, but what came in for her was that the real concern, beyond her shock and horror and how she felt about the situation, was that she was helpless. She couldn't do anything about it. That makes sense? Andrea, it's possible for you to settle. It's very distracting having you walk around. Or if you have to walk around, put off your monitor until you settle, okay? Put off as I understand you're at work. So does this resonate for people? Do you see how what's important is that you get into a state where you are conversant with yourself, where you are in alignment, literally, so that there's no other chatter going on? Does this make sense? And if not, ask me questions. Okay. Because I always experience there being inner chatter and inner discussion of how I'm behaving is okay with me or not, that there's an external judgment, which I've internalized. And so at that point, it's not that the situation got any better, if that makes sense. It's important. Okay, but what happened is that she was able to be with herself and support herself and be safe with herself, because herself was saying, yes, I'm angry. I wish I wasn't, but I am really angry. I'm going to let that sit there, and now I'm going to look outwards and see what I can actually do if I can help the situation. Does that make more sense? Am I saying it in a better way? Give me a yes or no. And if not, you can ask me a question, okay? So this is, thank you. So this is what I want to now share techniques for in the next couple of sessions. Does that sound like something that would be of interest?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's basically, Elizabeth, so it's a different way of problem management. Okay, it's a way of getting more quickly to the heart of things with less wear and tear on your psyche. Does that make sense? Because that's a big deal. So, and Lee, hopefully, I know you've been going through a lot of stuff yourself, and hopefully this might help you. And so then the last part of this is, Susan said to me, she said, well, do you have anything that anything you want to say? Because I don't usually offer, it's like it was done. We did what was necessary. She felt much better. And I said, well, my cousin is very religious. Half my family is extremely observant. And I said to her, I said, so, Susan, can I share some graveyard humor with you? Right? Graveyard humor is like very dark humor. And she said, yeah. Well, I said, okay. So I said, now, my brother is schizophrenic, and there was a moment when he tried to commit suicide. And I look after him. And I was very happy that he failed in the attempt. And I said, so Susan, so this is how I handled it, because I was so angry and upset and distressed and so on and so forth. I went in when I saw him. I said, so Adam, you tried to commit suicide and it didn't work. Did you succeed or did you fail? And my brother, one of the reasons that he's very lovable, laughed. He got the joke. Right. And when I told the story to Susan, she laughed. And that was like the final piece of it. She's like, I totally get that. And suddenly it was now a problem, but it wasn't her problem. See, because we had been able to shift the various components. So the issue was, she was concerned about his health, of course, and whatever, and she had all the natural concerns. But she wasn't having a problem. She was free. She was still herself. She was with herself. She was safe. We had a laugh about it, as dark as it was. And she now was in a position to actually solve the problem to the extent to which she could help it. And for me, that's what I want when am faced with a situation. I want to find a way to get all the stuff out of the way and be clear and focused and relaxed so that I don't have to pay the price for other people's problems. I don't, because when you are stressed, you generate all kinds of acid and chemicals. You know, you've all heard about cortisol stuff. It's like, you know, the details are boring unless you're a scientist. But for our purposes, every time you get stressed, you literally hurt your body. That's the short answer to this.
Mhm.
Right? And, you know, we all have a lot of stress, and a lot of us have physical problems. We get colds, we have allergies, we have headaches, we have all these symptoms. And not that you might not have them anyway, but you certainly have more of them and worse because you've depleted your body's immune system and energy stores when you allow this stuff to get to you. And I have a big concern in my work because I think that the only way that we can actually solve problems is to stop having them ourselves at this level. Do you understand this? I think that and you know this from your experience, when you're upset and something's going on, someone calm walks in, you calm right down, right? You match them. So if you take control, and instead of running to talk to your therapist, first, you at least give yourself a hug and give yourself a chance to settle. And then you call your therapist, you're going to have a much better result than if you just run to the phone and call your therapist or your priest or whoever you need to talk to in moments of stress. Does that make sense? Right? And when you do this and things like you're having a medical problem, you call the doctors. Doctors are, you know, so-so these days. I mean, there's some good ones, but as a general rule, the training is not particularly empathic or detailed in terms of their response. But if you take the moment to get conversant and detailed with yourself, you're going to get a very different response from the doctor because there's going to be that connection, and he or she is going to relate to you as a person. It just, you know, this is something that works. How you are is how it is, right? So I want to share some of these practical techniques so that you can start to use them in your everyday life for problem solving. And what we wrote in the copy was that we're going to dive into the importance of self-acknowledgement, goal setting, and identifying how to pre-solve problems before you begin to actually solve the problem. So does this sound like something you're interested in now? Make sense? It's new. Okay, this is not generally shared. So what I'd like you to do, and I'm gonna, yes, Sandeep.
Merlin, there was just one caution that I wanted to mention, that that your remark is perfect with when you said that how you are is how it is. But it kind of presumes that everybody in the situation is benign.
Oh, I see your point. I didn't intend that implication, so thank you.
Right.
So yes, determining other people's motives is very important. That should not be underestimated.
I mean, it's best to look at the transaction and see, am I doing it because I want to, or am I doing it for an outcome that I imagine there will be?
Yes, I understand your point exactly. This is sort of a this is almost before that conversation. And but one of the interesting things, Sandeep, is that the whole idea of gathering technique of doing the bubble, your inner GPS, your larger self, your soul, whichever languaging. I apologize. I thought I turned off my phone. That is very bad form. Please forgive me. Is that the bubble? Again, I don't. The science of it doesn't matter. But the idea is when you make this gesture, you are turning on your situational awareness GPS, so that assessment of motive is built into the movement. So thank you so much for bringing that up. But it's in there. Okay. Yes, you're 100% right. So do we get that this simple gesture makes you much more safe than you would be if you didn't do it. How about that? Cool, right? Because just the movement, your part of your brain goes, oh, I need to be situationally aware, and that's why the bubble is clear. That's why you're not meditating. Is that a good, does that resolve the point that you were making, Sandeep?
Yeah, no, that totally resolves it. I was just saying that sometimes, particularly in pseudo self-improvement circles or pseudo uh, help circles, the approach given is that because you are doing something wrong, or if you did something wrong, and I'm just a little protective of people who I know are teach that a lot. So, and that's why I just popped out.
I agree, but you know me well enough to know, Sandeep, that
Yeah.
I'm not a positivity freak. I'm kind of a,
Oh, I know, I know, and that's exactly why I mentioned it. That
thank you
you
so
know,
much. All right, so we get that, right? In other words, we're playing hardball here. This is not nicey. This is for the rough world that we live in, okay? And I'll be sure to sort of frame that. So when you do this technique, which you can do under any circumstances, it clicks on this thing in your brain that's sort of, it's almost like a map, you know, a GPS up here that starts to make decisions. So it's a very good thing to use anyway. It's not intended to be benign. It's intended to put you in a safe space, literally. Okay. So what we're going to do is now use these techniques to solve a problem. How about that? Does not have to be on the scale of my cousin's problem. Okay, that's
Marilyn, can I just say something real quick?
of course.
So with your cousin situation, yeah, we have been programmed, and that's what we like to call the superego, to like we have to be empathetic, and also this guilt trips that we all have. How am I related like to his suicidal attempt? Maybe I wasn't, attentive enough. I wasn't empathic enough. I wasn't enough of a good mother, of a good wife, and that's why he did that. So like blaming ourselves for something that the other person did. And it's amazing how with this toolbox, you helped her acknowledge the real feelings that the superego would have not allowed. Like, how can I be mad when he almost killed himself?
Yeah.
I shouldn't feel this way. So
That-
you help her cut through the crap and get to the acknowledge the real feeling about it, and then help her move from here. It's a different conversation of why he did it. If we applied this technique with him,
Sure.
what would be the outcome and his perspective? But what you did was amazing. How the stronger self came in right then to help her.
Well, thank you. Andres is using my techniques in a series of workshops where he's helping Latin American families who are living in shelters cope and move into their new life. So we've had quite a good success. Thank you, Andres. Your summary was excellent. I hope that you can reproduce that because you have a way of saying what I was trying to say in a nice, clean way. It also must be said that Andres has a Freudian background, which is why you'll hear words like superego. I use them too. It's a particular structure. So what we're going to do now is a practical application of this. Now, to my way of thinking, just the fact that we've been sitting here for 25 minutes in this group thing where we are in a state of self-acknowledgement, I hope you're appreciating and feeling good. Let me have a show of hands. Are you feeling good and relaxed? Okay, that is the whole game for me. Everything else is gravy. See, the idea is just to spend this time. I mean, to me, that one of the long-term goals is to help people learn to be themselves around other people. You know what I mean? Because I don't know about you, even with my cat, I'm always making adjustments because he's there. Seriously. And I'm like, Marilyn, if you do this with a cat, think of what you did with one of your husbands. It's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? So we're going to do an application, and I want us to all have a moment where when we do this hug, one of the things that we say to ourselves is, I'm going to be me. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to really be full bore. Last night my cat, who is a regular cat who thinks he's a Siamese, would not shut up. meow. And finally I went, you know what, Spooky? You've had chicken twice today. I've petted you. I've brushed you. I bought you a new toy and shut up. And guess what? He did. I mean, I'm not sure you should try this on human beings because I'm not sure that shut up has the same resonance for humans as cats, but he was like, okay, I get it. And he went and he lay on his lovely bed that I bought him, and I didn't hear from him for a couple hours. So it was marvelous. So what I did in preparation, since I live my own stuff, is I did this with my cat. That's how I figured this out. So that give you
And Catherine did the same thing with Isabella, which can, this is the 5-year-old daughter who can be really disruptive.
yes,
So sometimes, yes, we acknowledge, we give things, and sometimes we just set boundaries.
exactly. Thank you.
And Isabella got it like your cat.
Excellent. Now I'm gonna we're gonna move on, but very briefly, this is one of the women that Andres is working with in the shelter. And the 5-second thing is that using the word of the day, she began to realize that her little daughter was imitating her behavior. It wasn't that the daughter was being a bad kid. It was a big insight for her. And what we were excited about is that she got it. Andres didn't have to be the therapist. He corroborated it and he shepherded it, but she, through the word of the day, came up with it. So for me, I did a word of the day, and my word in the center of my cluster, which was actually written, surprise, was meow. You know, and then I clustered and I wrote things like horrible, trapped. You know, you have a cat, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give it away? They're just gonna kill it. I mean, you can't do that. Trapped, ungrateful, that was big. I was like, yeah, he's really ungrateful. And a couple of other words. And then, Andres, you'll be happy, the last word was boundaries. And I thought, well, what does boundaries have to do with my cat meowing? I mean, you know, I told you I'm my own worst student. I totally didn't get it. And then a couple of hours later, I'm in the shower and I went, oh, I have to tell the cat to shut up. And that's how that occurs. So even though it's a small, so I'm going to ask you to take a problem that is seemingly benign. Let's not deal with, you know, I'm not a trained therapist, so let's not deal with any suicide attempts or whatever, but can we all find something that's kind of annoying? And I'm going to have Beth be my trusty beta tester, okay? So Beth, what do you got?
Okay, so a full dishwasher at all times that needs to be unloaded. That is so aggravating to me.
Ugh.
It's benign, but
many-
it has.
It's not someone trying to commit suicide, but it's pretty annoying.
It is, yeah. You can't do anything until the dishwasher is unloaded. You can't. So,
How many people live in your house that could help you out?
well, it's just me and my husband, but he is allergic to the dishwasher, I think, or there's something that creates this barrier that he can't do that.
Perfect. So what do you think you're going to, so everybody take a piece of paper and draw the circle. Let's do this. And the easiest way to do this is to draw a circle that's large enough to write in, and then put, 3 or 4 or 5 circles that are big enough to write in, and then attach them with lines to the main circle. That's the best way to get this thing to happen on paper. All right. So you're going to, what do you think you'd put in the middle of your circle, Beth?
I just put full dishwasher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is I would have put husband.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's up there. That's the next.
All right. So just hold on for a second. So does everybody have something of that? Please share briefly. If you have one, raise your real hand and we'll just ask. Just have a couple of people. Yes. Ching, am I pronouncing your name correctly? If not, please.
Yes.
Ching. Okay, excellent. I remembered. Okay, so Ching, what do you got? What's benign but a problem?
So it needs to be a benign problem.
Well, I mean benign in the sense of not suicide.
Oh, so well, I was gonna say when you were sharing about your cat, my dog has been super annoying these couple of days. It's like she's in puberty again, but she's past that stage.
No.
Yeah. So
Okay.
she's whining, she's always asking for treats, for attention. I've been taking her to the largest dog run in Manhattan twice a day. It's still not enough. And she's like, I want the best treats. Now I'm giving her the liver treats, like very expensive liver treats. And she's like, yeah, this is what I deserve. And I want it every single time.
All right, so what are you gonna put in your circle?
I was gonna say dog, but I mean, it's not.
Dog is good.
I don't-
Start with dog, because we're gonna go around. All right, now, and remember that this is all in the service of perhaps finding the possibility of a solution you hadn't thought of, okay? There's not a guarantee, it's just the idea that you might have something new come in. So let me go quickly and ask everybody what they got. So raise your hand if you have something. All right, okay, Marlene, what do you got?
Money communication with my husband.
Okay, perfect. What are you gonna put in the circle?
Money communication.
Excellent. All right,
Mhm.
Elizabeth, what do you got? You're on mute, sweetie. You're on mute.
I feel like I have dog and dishwasher for ducks.
Okay, you have a dog, wait, no, dishwasher, a dishwasher problem. Okay, so the question is it who's empty the dishwasher or the dishwasher?
It's who, yeah.
So then you know what to put in the circle. Okay. All right, address?
I'm going to emulate Marlene and communication with husband.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's perfect. All right, that will be good for a weekend seminar and a week
Oh,
long.
yes.
All right, we'll tackle one aspect. All right, what about you, Lee? Christina?
I'm thinking about this. I'm doing a film on worldwide horse slaughter and banning it, and I'm making a film about it now, and it's very hard to know what I'm doing as a filmmaker and witnessing it. So maybe a boundary around that.
Okay, good. So how about that? That's excellent. That's a really good choice. All right, so everybody's got one. Sandeep?
Mine is tiny bit longer, but it has to do with communication. It's the only thing I could think of that is benign but very annoying is when apps change their behavior without saying anything.
When who changes behaviors? I didn't hear that word.
Apps like Zoom, for example.
Oh, so you
would
are.
be one of
All right, so you're dealing with
When apps-
AI. AI is very
Oh, yeah.
whenever applications, and not just on the phone, change their behavior without communicating anything,
right.
and
Mhm.
Okay, so what's your word? Is your word going to be unpredictable, maybe? Is that a good word?
I mean, I was thinking of putting communication because that seems to be the theme today.
Okay, great. I think
Mhm.
that our today are communication and pets. That's very interesting. Or
Mhm.
that one. Okay.
Mhm.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the hug. And then because we have a small group and we have time, we're going to try to go for a full minute and a half. So you should be able to get 5 or 6 things. Now, before we start, one of the keys about what we do here, and since I'm dealing with writers, you'll get this. Usually these brainstorming, mind mapping, blah, blah chicks are all about how many words you can come up with and concepts, okay? This is the anti-concept. We want an image to form. Now, you've already done that. Okay, I've already legally gotten you to do what I want you to do, which is work, be image-based, yeah?
Mhm.
So as you come up with your words, don't rush to, come up with, soap and whatever it is.
Mhm.
Take a moment and get the image, like Beth was very clear. She's looking at the dishwasher. There's her husband.
Not looking at the dishwasher.
Right, here we go again. So that's a visual
Yeah.
image. Do you understand? So in this process, we take images and we distill them into a word or a phrase. Okay, it's backwards to the way this is normally taught. So 5 or 6 in a minute and a half is about right. If you get 4, that's great. Okay, it's not about quantity, and this is not about rushing. In other words, you're allowed to have the image, see what's going on in the image, and then write it down, because that will help this process. So we're working at a different level of consciousness. So ready, steady, and go. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to gather. Okay, sit our bones if we're not on them. Gather. Breathe in. And as we exhale, imagine a lovely protective bubble that keeps us safe and yet is clear, and we are situationally aware. And it's almost like we feel this thing come up on top of our head, another pair of eyes that can look down and help us. And then we're gonna give ourselves a little squeeze, smile, close your eyes, take a deep breath. And say, I love you in your name aloud. Ready? I love you.
I love you, Beth.
Yeah, you're all allowed to say it, but don't say Beth's name. Okay, say yours. One more time. I love you, Elizabeth, Christina, Sunday, Joyce, Beth. We'll always be together. Let's hear it. We'll always be together.
Always be together.
We'll always be safe.
Always be safe.
And we are enough.
We are.
All right, take a smile. Feel that. Breathe. Now, without rushing to do anything, because you have time, let an image form. Start with the image that came to you, and then what's the next image? That's the way I'd like you to work. Take a breath, close your eyes. You can hug each time, whatever you feel is comfortable. And I'm going to take the risk of putting on the phone because that's where my timer is. So hopefully, even though I've now turned up the ringer. Okay. All right, ready, steady, and go. Okay, so it's quite a long time, so take your time. And if you can, remember to breathe. Ah. All right, about 30 seconds, come up with another image. Go from here. Ah, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, last image, and let's. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to make up a little story and write for 2 minutes about the words that you came up with in your cluster. Okay, then we'll share the stories. We're all writers here, so the story could begin once upon a time. You don't have to write that part. That you might write something like, what do you think you might write?
Let's see, I would probably start with, it's a morning thing. So this morning when I walked to the kitchen, and then move on.
Get the idea, right? So,
Yeah, right.
right,
Yeah.
tell a little story about the words. Like, Jing, you already told us the story. Now you just need to look at your words and let the words shape the narrative. Okay, got it? Excellent. So ready, steady, and go. And we'll go for about 2 or 3 minutes. So take your time. If you get done, look up and I'll see. Otherwise, I'll give you a 30-second warning. Okay. Breathe, smile. Give yourself permission to make up a story. Working, connecting with her.
Okay, good. Good.
I was wondering, is she almost always,
Yeah, she had signed up
Yeah.
tonight, but so I was surprised that she didn't come on in.
okay, 30 seconds. Okay, so try to bring your story to an end. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
It didn't come.
Alrighty. Good. Okay. Good. All right. So if you're still writing, you can keep writing for a couple minutes. Otherwise, let's do a hug. Okay, and I'd like you to hug yourself and just, congratulate yourself. It's like, hey, you got online and you wrote something. This is awesome. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So have that feeling of self-respect and accomplishment, and then you're going to say your name. I love you, whatever your name is.
I love you, Beth. We'll
Always,
always be together.
always be
We'll
safe.
always be safe.
And we are
We are enough.
excellent. Okay. So now have a little bit of a stretch. Okay, we've been sitting now for a half hour, so just let yourself stretch a little bit. And
Are we
again,
also
I'm sorry.
are we also supposed to say after that? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, of course, whatever works for you that doesn't damage the way that stuff hits you. Okay, that was a great crack for Sandeep. I love it. Alrighty,
We are
good.
enough is very important because
Yes.
you also cut through the cracks of all those external critics that we have internalized. Because for most people, we are not enough.
That's it.
Because based on their perspective, they want us to be this, and that for them.
No,
can't control
no,
people. Yes, Sandeep.
they want to migrate and they want to illegally immigrate into your life.
Into your head, right?
In your head.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
so
same difference.
absolutely. So let's see what Beth came up with, because Beth is our beta tester of the method.
Okay, so you want me to just read what I wrote?
Well,
Or tell you my
you just remind people that the issue was that your husband won't empty the dishwasher.
Right. So several of the
And you can tell us your words, your main word.
Yeah. So my images and words that, of course, the full dishwasher, the husband sitting at this time, it was his desk, my angry stomp through the house, an angry stomp, rage cleaning, feeling better, smiling, and but then the strange word here at the end that came in was a feeling of pettiness or guilt. Okay, so that so that's what came in at the end. So here's what I wrote. This morning, I walked to the kitchen and I needed to load the dishwasher with several pans and dishes that were left from the night before. Don't judge me, anybody. Yes, there was pans and dishes. The kitchen was a mess. Okay, from the night before. The hubs was sitting at his desk already, and I was angry. I aggressively started unloading the dishes that were in the dishwasher, and I stomped around the kitchen. The counters then got a very mean and angry scrubbing as well. But I felt better immediately, but I no longer had time to prepare the breakfast that I had wanted to. Chores seemed awfully one-sided at that moment, but then I started to feel petty and guilty for all of the negative feelings I was having.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So you understand, you see how you're talking to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the problem has nothing to do with him. It has to do with you. You don't feel that you have the right
Mm-hmm.
to to have a reasonable conversation and say, I'd like some help with the chores.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So so you see, again, I'm sure you knew this, but maybe you didn't know it in this exact way.
Yeah, it's part of me says, no, I should not feel guilty or that's a petty request or any, like that. But we both work hard. So I'm like, should I even mention it? What should that even be a thing that we talk about? It's dishes. It's not, it's not anything major really. But yeah, it's, that's married things, married things, those things come up. It's maybe different for everyone, but I think everybody
I'm gonna
has some of those things,
stop you, Beth. And do you hear how you're hearing the internalized negative voice that's putting you down for having your feelings? Do we all get that this is why this technique is powerful? Because you start to see how you are defending a situation that is actually having a very detrimental effect on your nervous system. And it's obvious that if it's never just the dishwasher. We know this.
Oh no.
Right.
Yeah,
So your super ego says, just let it go.
Andress. Not a therapy session, okay? I'll just do my thing. So the idea here is what Andrea said. Yes, okay. So the idea is the solution is not what you think the solution is. The solution is not necessarily to go and have a conversation with him, though it could be. That's right. That's the right, Andress. Right. That's what we do. In this modality, we don't care about the outcome. It's not our job. We're not therapists. What we are interested in exploring is why would you allow yourself to treat yourself like this? Right.
Right.
You would never, if your son-in-law was doing it to your daughter, you would get there so fast. You'd say, "What do you mean?" Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people, this is why this technique is very different. We don't outside world, we're in the bubble where we're dealing with what's going on between our ears. And Beth, your creative unconscious, that stronger self, that little GPS that comes in with the bubble, is telling you something, right? When you're around angry, you're not angry at your husband, you're angry at yourself. Your husband's just an annoying fly out there. Right?
Yeah, he's never crossed his mind that it would be an issue. Yeah.
And so he doesn't respond to your stomping around because he doesn't associate it with the problem. See, that's why it doesn't work. So as a practical matter, you need to find a different way to communicate with him should you decide that would change things.
Yeah.
But perhaps the most important step is to start getting nicer to yourself. And when you feel a certain way, again, with my cousin, she felt just like you. She felt petty. She felt guilty for having her feelings. Does this start to make sense? This is why this stuff is powerful, because we're dealing at a very, very deep level. And once I made the joke about my brother, like, did you succeed? It put her back in her own, she's got an even better sense of humor than I do. And we just on the phone and joke around together at this level, very dark. And so as I said that to her, she regained her own self-respect and she laughed. And once she laughed and she got the the absurdity of reality and all the other deep things that are implicit in these things. That was easy. So if you get this and you understand that the only person who's abusing you is you, you know, it's uncomfortable, but at least you are really in control.
Mhm.
And you can ask them, you can say, Wayne, you know, when I start stomping around in the morning, what do you think's going on? I mean, you can ask them, like, they'll say, well, I don't know, you're having one of your headaches, you've got a bed late, you know how guys are, right? Something specific, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna go, well, Marilyn was right. I've been trying to communicate my annoyance all these years, and he didn't
Mhm.
even associate it with there being a problem, because he didn't know there was a problem.
Mhm. Yeah, he could care less if there was dishes everywhere. That's not his, you know.
Okay, but that's
No, it's not.
another, I'm gonna
Yeah, it's
instruct,
another thing. Yeah.
that's another level of this. In other words,
Mm.
who cares what he cares about?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is this is the self-esteem model at work. We have internalized this machine, you know, like the Matrix, the bug that you swallow in the Matrix. This is installed when we're kids. But everything we do is in relationship to our a transactional interaction with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to get free of it. It's not that again, I'm not a therapist. It's not my job to tell you what to actually do in your life, right? That's something that, you know, I can tell you what I would do, but I would never give anybody actual advice. But what I would give advice about is notice that there is this thing in you that makes you feel bad, that diminishes your problems, and you have a tendency to get these terrible headaches. Do you ever think that there's maybe a connection between why you might get terrible
Oh
headache,
yeah. Oh yeah.
right? You know,
Absolutely.
and
I'm
you
a
know that
bundle of stress.
and that in the dream world, in the dream activation,
Mhm.
you know, in the dream symbology, having trouble with your teeth is not being able to say what you mean.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? In other words, I'm not saying that it's causing a tooth problem, but I'm saying
Yeah.
the symbology, and we have dreams when your teeth are, you're embarrassed about who you are, right?
Mhm.
So I hope that this is actually helpful to other people. We're going to talk about other people, but I just want you to, because that's my beta test, and we're going a little more in depth than we're going to. But does this make sense to people? That what we're uncovering is a problem in our self relationship. That's what we can work on in with this technique.
Mhm.
And this is the pre-solving a problem. So tomorrow morning when you come in, the dishwasher is not empty. You could have a different conversation with yourself.
Mhm. Right.
And the main point is that you don't have to pour the acid on your brain of the anger anymore, because you are in control of the situation. Right? You know that he doesn't get it, you know that he doesn't understand the problem, you know that it's not one of his concerns, that you have made his lack of concern one of your concerns. And the answer is these are things that you can decide that you want to continue. Or what happens with the hug, if you do this regularly, is that somehow your mouth will open. And whatever you say will be the right thing. And you'll say, honey, I never knew it bothered you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be like, I'm gonna And then you have to kind of go, well, I never told him. It's fair. And it's true that we gals tend to expect men to be mind readers. This is a flaw,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? Which we might want to consider changing. And then something will come out of your mouth and they'll say, well, honey, I can wash up. You cook.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you ever ask me to wash up? And if he doesn't, that's what he should have said. And you can decide what you're going to now institute in your policy. But you won't be doing it. See, he'll agree because you're not coming from a place of anger.
Right. Right.
Because you accepted responsibility for allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense to people? We train people how to treat us. That's part of what we're up to.
Mm-hmm.
That was why telling my cat to shut up was very satisfying. Well, Ching is going to come up with her dog. All right, helpful to people? Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing. And again, we might go to 8:30 because it seems to be a deep class. I hope does anybody have to leave? Because if so, they can start. Are you okay for time? If not, let me go in my order. Okay, Ching, let's talk about dogs. What was your word?
Lucy has been super annoying and needy. It's like she's back in her puberty again. She always wants treats. Not just carrots or even peanut butter, but the best beef liver treats, which cost $35 per pound.
Wow.
She's so whiny. I have to leave my chair a lot just to tend to her needs. I can't say no to those pleading eyes, and I just kept squeezing her flappy ears as I feed her all the treats I got. Salmon skin, salmon jerky, milk bones, and of course, florets of broccoli. I just can't. She'll be obese and I'll be broke. Not a good thing to have.
Oh, bravo. Well written. Okay, so Ching, I'm going to tell you something. Your dog probably has a physical problem. You need to take her to the doctor.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, we have an appointment this Friday actually.
Good. So I'm going to tell you this, she's having some kind of physical problem that she can't communicate. And this kind of reassurance. Okay, that's part one. Part two, somewhere along the line, you have let the boundaries go. And sometimes you have to let your dog whine or whatever. It's very hard to be a parent, even if it's of a fur baby.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but what you wrote was lovely. I mean, in other words, what you wrote was a very bright, very communicative, very charming, very lucid. When I remember your screenplays, that you are a good writer in all things. And you know, the idea here now is that clearly, you know, if we had to categorize it, you know, theoretically, dogs are the dogs and masters are the masters. So, you know, when did the role change? You could think about, and what was going on in your life where suddenly she got needy, because again, like the client of Andress's, who the lady who discovered that her daughter was imitating her, usually the subordinate partner in a situation is responding to the higher ups' behavior. In other words, if she's a mirror for something, what's going on with you?
I think mentally and emotionally, I'm pretty stable these days.
So why would she suddenly change her behavior?
I don't know if she did not get enough exercises, or I think she becomes extremely whiny when I eat. Like
Oh, really?
wants a piece of whatever I eat. But yes, I am going to, I don't think she has any problem. She has good appetite. She exercises well. She runs. She's just bored. She wants to play with me. And when I play, she just has a lot of energy.
Okay, that's a good solution. So how can you, if that's the case, since we've ruled other things out, you'll rule out the medical issues when you go to the doctor. Now you have to come up with a solution, which is it's more convenient for you to give her treats and be angry at her. What would be a better solution for both of you? Does she need to go out one more time a day?
Okay. Take her more to the park. That's a solution. But here's also the thing. She sometimes just don't run in the park. She would sit there and watch squirrels and watch people. This is what she did today. She was watching people talking in the gazebo next to the park.
She is the dog of a writer. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah. And then she would just sit there and watch the squirrels. And the squirrels are outside. So she would spend half an hour sitting there, and I try to, you know, I brought a ball. I try to get her attention. She's like, I'm not running. I'm just sitting here and watching.
All right. So, but are you starting to hear what's going on? Are you having a sense of what's really going on here?
I am. What's going on is that she has a mind of her own, and I am trying to get to her. I'm not quite sure how that works. I also try to shush her, just like what you did with the cat. It doesn't really work. Usually doesn't work.
But you have to take the metaphor. In other words, you're trying to control her. That you said it yourself. You're trying to get with her. You can't control her. So
I know I have control issues. That I know.
Okay.
I'm very aware of that.
Hang on, Sandeep, just 1 minute. The point of doing this kind of inner work is we're not trying to solve things in a traditional way. We're trying to acknowledge something that is everything that happens to us, positive or negative, is an opportunity. Right, you've heard that. There are no obstacles, there's only opportunities. This is an opportunity for you to deal with some of your control issues. For whatever reason, it's come up now. I don't know why, and again, we don't have time to go into too much more depth. But the idea is, so you could, again, as a useful word of the day practice, do a couple of these clusters about control issues, like what are my control issues? And you'll find that they have nothing to do with the dog. You have some colleague at work, or there's something else, very different part of your life that is tweaking you to try to get control of your dog because you feel out of control somewhere else. This is the kind of thing that is the way that we work, and that's why we sometimes need a technique like this to get ourselves into where the real problem is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know I have control issues, but this is just when it pops up again.
Right. So I'm saying, so is it possible that this is helpful for you and that you would consider looking, there's also an old homily. There are a lot of very famous healers who do physical work like Reiki and Rolfing and all these different somatic disciplines. And all of them say that when you're having a problem, it's not where it hurts.
It's not where it hurts.
No, it's that the actual pain is a referred pain from where the real problem is.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so your annoyance with your dog is a referred problem. It's a symptom of some problem that you're having somewhere else.
It's because I expect things to go to be smooth all the time. I expect, and then when it doesn't go my way, I get annoyed.
Okay, so but I'm saying you've now used the story to inform yourself about something. See?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your honesty. All right, we have to move a teeny bit quicker. So Christina, what do you got?
I've identified with everything, all of this: suicide, the dishwasher, the dog, the cat, all that is, happened to me. And I'm not a writer, I'm a creative filmmaker. Writers write for my films, really award-winning writers, Emmy writers. So I can't take credit for that, but I care about issues and I champion causes. So I feel that's a strength, but there's probably something underlying there.
Okay, well, this is what you can do with your therapist. We're not analyzing you.
You like, okay, so because I don't write like these lovely women, I just put down words on paper. Like I'm trying to just say, like, I'm not a writer. Is my
No one ever said anything. This is now your super ego coming in to trounce you. You can't even allow yourself to be present for 5 minutes. It was an exercise.
Okay.
I do it with people who have never written in their lives. It has nothing to do with being a writer. It is using writing to find clarity.
Okay. So here's what came out. From the middle of it, it was a banned horse slaughter, Sad Eyes, Love, Nevada, Bureau of Land Management, BLM, choppers chasing wild Mustangs across land, broken herds, animal rights, hungry, skinny ribs, evil meat buyers, defenseless animals, scars, wounds, blood, broken legs, orphan fillies, love, rescue, greedy horse traders for making money, Congress for financial gain, Canada, Mexico, skinned alive, ruthless, inhumane abuse, murder, sense of death in the eyes of the horse. Strong women will not give up pursuit for the horses.
Oh, you got all that down in a minute and a half? I think you're a writer, I gotta tell you.
That's
Just
good.
Things in order. So that's like a big poem if you laid it out,
Yeah, definitely.
right? Definitely.
Oh, thanks, ladies. And men.
So Christina, the idea is that what maybe you can see what came up for you is you're pre-passing a judgment for you before you ever got a chance to share. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may not be a writer, but you're a storyteller. There's not a story in those words. I don't know. Then I must have heard them wrong. And we're all storytellers. And I think that maybe part of your struggle is that you can't own that. In other words, you think you have to be a writer. No, all the great producers hired writers. All the great Hollywood directors hired writers, right? My grandfather was a movie lawyer. Writers were hired hands. The producers made up the stories, And I'm not saying that writing is not very important. There are lots of screenwriters that were very famous, but the point is, but what I heard, and I hope that maybe your deeper self heard, is how you pass judgment on yourself. You're not taking ownership. Storyteller, the fact that someone's executing for you and you're giving away your power because you feel that you're not a writer. That's what came up for me. That's what I saw. And remember, you're here, and people, this is one of the things about me, Christina. People know me when they want to solve a problem. That's what I've been doing for people for 25 years. And it's not a problem that you necessarily know you have, which is part of the reason that this is fun. So if you start to think about that, you say, wow, yeah, I am a storyteller. Look at these words that I wrote. If they were on a poem, just if you put them in a poem and you sent it in somewhere, you'd get taken seriously as a poet, right, people? I mean, that was quite an experience. I don't know about anybody else. And so I want you to consider that the reason that you came in tonight was that the confusion is your role in this project and your self-respect as your role in this. And that's where you will find the clarity. It's nothing to do with the filmmaking. It has to do with who you feel you're worthy of being. Right. And in my world, I come from a movie business family. And in the movie business, before the auteur theory came in the 60s, directors and writers were hired hands. The creative forces were the producers. Right. They made up the story, they got people to execute it, they did all of that. So take your power back. You are a producer in the traditional Hollywood sense. Go read a biography, of Louis B. Mayer. Go read a biography of Irving Thalberg. Okay, go read biographies of Hollywood producers. There are a lot of very, very powerful women producers, even at that time. Ida Lupino, Mae West. Mae West was a force of nature as a producer. And take back your power, lady.
I will. Thank you for that. It's been a big day of being a producer, and I'm in the middle of assembling it all with all these wonderfully talented people, and that's so helpful. Thank you.
But you're the boss, and you're not the boss because you're a vain person. You're the boss because this is your skill. Your gift is synthesizing. You're a synthesizer. Right, and that's the most important kind of creation. As I said, go look up Ida Lupino, go look up Louis B. Mayer, go look up Mae West, go look up Douglas Fairbanks and the people at United Artists. You're going to see these powerhouses who were experts at collaboration. That was their biggest gift. You have to work and then execute. That's who you are. So take your power back.
Thank you. I needed this. Thank you so much. It's
alpha females. We got to stick together. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, but now I'm gonna extrapolate this because we seem to be into this thing. We'll do it. Is that we are all suffering from this? Okay, Ching, if you have a control issue, you see what the real problem is. Who are you? Are you the owner or the mess or the dog? And where does that extend out? Okay, same thing with you, Beth. Same thing with me. Who are we? Are we the boss? Are we the owner? Are we the right? In other words, and sometimes this shift in how we are allowing ourselves to be is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves. It has nothing to do with external. Once my cousin realized that it was her son-in-law, and there really wasn't much she could do for it, and that the connection was her rage, and her rage was something that's been a problem with her for her whole life. And she went and she took her power back. She said, okay, I'm a grandma. This idiot is married to my daughter and hurting my grandchildren. Okay. She took her power back. I'm the matriarch of the family. How dare he do this without consulting me? How dare he? And maybe I do have a moral responsibility because I haven't had him answer for me. I haven't been the matriarch that I need to be in this family. See, so that's where there is culpability. Make sense? Okay, great. Elizabeth. You might be on mute. I'm not sure.
I am on mute. Okay. I'm having a little trouble with the assignment because it feels a little bit like therapy kind of talk. But you're saying that it's not. So So I started off with a dream I had. So last night I had a dream where I was lying in bed napping, but not napping. And around me, everything of mine was in perfect order, everything in its place. But my husband's side of the room was in chaos. He's lazy, selfish, annoying, always has other priorities that are more important than me. I think he doesn't love me enough because he doesn't see the chaos around and how it affects me. He makes things a priority all the time. Other priorities. When his mother was ill, he remodeled her entire apartment. Something he wouldn't help me do at all. And when we got a dog, all of a sudden he had time for 2-hour walks a day, but not 2 minutes to unload the dishwasher or pick up a sock. So I feel like I was inspired a little bit by, I think, the dog and and the dishwasher.
But
Kind of relating.
that's what's fabulous about being in a community, Elizabeth, is inspiration. It's supportive too.
So yeah, so that's it.
Right. So the idea is that the reason that again, this is not therapeutic because we're not concerned with the husband. That's something you or can or cannot deal with now. What we're concerned with is we're seeing how you have put up for so many years with being second or third or whatever you have been. And that in the setting, your higher self has rushed in to tell you the story of how you've been living. And a dream, a waking dream, a sleeping dream. And if you're feeling tears, that's good. That means you just got better. So grab some tissues and give yourself congratulations, right? That means it worked. That means our experiment worked. Now, it doesn't matter if you change anything on the outside world, but now you know what's going on. Again, just like everybody here, we have allowed things to occur because we have this self-esteem demon installed in our heads about how we're supposed to be. Get that? It's not your fault. That's the most important thing I want everybody. This is not our fault. So it's only our fault if you come to a workshop with me and you don't allow yourself to acknowledge a situation. Everything that wherever we are is we've always done our best, right? So Elizabeth, that's what I want you. So I can see you immediately starting now to get upset about how you behave. Stop it. Okay, it's like Christina. No, take your power. You have done everything that you thought was the best for everyone without putting yourself at the top of that list. You haven't factored yourself as being a person as well, being part of that everyone. You have excluded yourself from those choices. And the reason that you're crying and the reason that this is a powerful exercise is you will stop doing that, whether you want to or not. Your deeper self will not allow this to continue. And that's why you're crying. They're tears of relief. Okay. They're happy tears. They're like, oh, thank God I finally got the splinter out of my heart where I can look at it. Make sense? Feel better?
A little bit.
Okay. It's not necessarily feeling better is not necessarily a situation that is good or bad. Okay. Feeling better can also be a way of avoiding something. If you're feeling pretty bad, that's good because it's a pretty bad situation. It's been pretty bad for a long time. And your courage in sharing that, everybody here. I mean, wow, I'm blown away by our power. So take your power back. And the point is, you're a writer and you had a dream. Like I'm a big believer. My dreams inform so much of your dream is perfect. So you need to thank your inner self for giving you a dream. You had the dream before you even knew what was going to happen in here. You see, this whole deeper self was waiting. I've been waiting for years to get Elizabeth to see this situation. Oh, here's my chance. That little circle in the middle of the page. Make sense? This is tough stuff, Elizabeth. This is not, I told you, this is hardball. We don't screw around here. Okay. But the idea is now that you have acknowledged it, because this is the acknowledgement is freedom. In other words, the solution to the problem is not solving the outer problem. It's the acknowledgement of how you have participated in your own unhappiness. Okay, so the bad news is you participated in your own happiness. The good news is you can fix it if you want to. Right? And the even better news is now that you've worked with this process, you don't have to do anything. It will do itself. I guarantee you. That's the whole point. Don't rush off, right? It's like, Christina, when you get off the phone, don't send everybody an email that says, just in case you forgot, I'm the boss. I mean, you could, but the only person it'll make any difference to is you. They'll all think you had 2 minutes to drink or whatever, But, and the same thing with you, Elizabeth, you don't have to rush off to tell your husband to go pick his socks off the floor. Right, that's the self-esteem thing. Well, there's something wrong and I have to do something. In this model, you already did it. Do you understand? You have accomplished what it would have taken you 5 or 10 years of therapy to accomplish in this one little exercise. Because the whole thing came out complete. You didn't discuss your feelings, you didn't discuss why. The image given to you in your dream is the great gift from your creative unconscious. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Okay, well, let it percolate. In other words, don't rush off and tell your husband to start doing things until you've thought it through, okay? But the deeper issue that you will have to think about is that this is how it's been in your life. You have not been number one or even number two. And, the serious part of this conversation that I wish I could mitigate is that okay with you? And if it isn't okay with you, then what realistically can you do within the setting of, again, this is a very serious kind of issue once you find it. So this is serious business, Elizabeth. You can call me, we can talk about it some more. But the point is, right now, you want to give yourself an incredible amount of credit for acknowledging it. It's like Sisyphus with a rock finally going, you know what? I'm not climbing the mountain, I'm putting the rock down. It's stupid. And that's the most important gesture that you can make towards yourself. And what you can do right away, and Christina and everybody here, is to start examining the little ways in which you support this negative self-opinion. And that's where you could do some work. So, for example, I'm sure that Beth was not raised to slam dishes around. She's a nice Southern lady. I'm sure that that is not acceptable. So every time she does that, she betrays herself. Do you get that? So that's where you can do work. In what ways do you participate in allowing this? Okay. And the idea is, because we're writers, you can keep a journal. You don't have to, there's no point having a conversation with your husband until you let this really, like as I say, don't rush off to make any Band-Aid fixes. You might want to pick up a sock and put it in the garbage. You can do little things like that to start setting yourself free. You can stop doing his laundry. Oh, it was on the floor, sorry. If you want me to do the laundry, you got to put your shirts in the laundry, what do you expect? Little things like this start to make gigantic shifts. Does that make sense, Elizabeth? Got that for everybody? In other words, if you say to your dog, I'm sorry, we're not having liver anymore, I can't afford it. Seriously, at least you fixed one part. You're not going to go broke. Now you have to deal with the other issues. And this is what I'm offering to everybody. You do small things. So Christina, you don't have to do anything differently, except next time you start to feel that feeling of, oh, I'm not a writer, go, no, I'm the creator. This is my staff. They are executing my plan. And, put it on a piece of paper, put it on your desk, keep it somewhere. None of anything we're talking about requires any interaction with the person in question. That's why it's one of the reasons it's not therapeutic. It is not designed to solve any outside problems. And it's designed to repair your relationship with yourself. Okay, so we're going to move on. Again, Elizabeth, I know that was a very deep moment. If you want to talk to me, shoot me an email. We'll talk. Okay. All right, Marlene.
Oh, hi. So I had money communication. So my words were hug, tools, think differently, listen, ask what they want, ask what I can do. What can I do for you to help? Let go completely, and then just divert to a self-satisfying subject.
Okay, and so what'd you write?
Oh, two people walked towards the woods. He was thinking about the conversation he had with his friend that day. She was thinking about how they needed to talk to one another and how she needed it. No one talked. They looked at the light streaming through the trees. They listened to the birds. They smelled the cedar and felt a cool breeze across their faces. She took a deep breath, and he crunched acorns beneath his feet. He took her hand in his, and they walked until dusk.
Wow. Fantastic. It's all there. I mean, it's all there. Again, it's, you know, it's like Elizabeth. In other words, it's all there. There's everything that your creative unconscious would want you to know about the situation is right there. And again, acknowledgement is everything. What you decide that you want to do to affect change or not is a different, you know, part of the process. Right?
Right.
But does it must feel better to have it be there in an image form where you can really understand the whole thing of it, the whole piece of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just came out.
That's the point. Your creative unconscious is waiting to help you. It's just like, oh, just give me a portal, you know, it's just like, just give me a minute, just give me 1 second to talk to you and tell you everything I want you to know to make you feel happier. You know, that part of you loves you, you know, it's your part with the creator, whatever, you know, whatever your religious framing is, doesn't matter. The point is there's a part of you that just wants you to have it all, you know, you just have to let that go. So, you know, again, what you might do, again, is creative exercises is not an actual suggestion, and we're going to move on, is you could rewrite that scene. You know, that's a very powerful Jungian dream activation technique where you simply rewrite your scene as if it were a dream and you fix it the way you want to.
Mhm.
You know, it doesn't mean anything's going to change in the outside world. And Elizabeth, this is something that you can do. It's a very powerful exercise. You know, and you take what you wrote and you change it. I mean, it's a complete act of imagination, but it's powerful. You know, one day I came home and it was all neat. And my husband said, you know, I hired a maid. I don't care about that shit, but I realized that, you know, it's been bothering you for years and I don't know why I didn't see it. I don't know what happened. I just suddenly had this idea that I should get a maid to come in and clean up my stuff. You know, by the way, this stuff happens in real life. It's amazing. I have to warn you that once you start doing this kind of stuff is magic, because, you know, when you get that creative unconscious going, it kind of gets the word out. But you could rewrite it something like that. Or Marlene, you could rewrite it that, you know, your husband said, you know, so, you know, what's on your mind, Marlene? You're looking kind of serious tonight. You know, I mean, in other words, you make it up how you want it. We're not allowed to do this. We are so shut down. Right? And same thing with you, Beth. You know, what if, and Shane, suddenly you came home and your dog came and licked your face and she wasn't barking. Right? And I'm having the experience. My cat has not been whining. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it'll start again, but for a day I've had peace. And it's just basically, you know, rewriting reality, and something happens. I have no idea what it is. Okay. So you'll keep me posted. And again, I am so impressed with everybody's courage. Let's go and deal with the men now. Okay. Sandeep, what do you got?
What did I do?
What did you do?
Nothing. Apparently, the right thing is costlier than anything else. Anyway, so I'm going to have to ask you all to indulge and pretend that you do not know who this is about.
Okay.
And the first thing that came to my mind, of course, when I saw the word communication, is Jacobson's 5. Jacobson? I don't know. Somebody's 5 constituent factors of communication. But today's exercise was interesting in that we couldn't write a word. We had to think of an image too. So I had after I tried, there were these 5 balls that were juggling in the air, which are 5 constituent components. The next word came to mind was contract. And of course, the next word came to mind was betrayal. I drew a goal for contract, and for betrayal, I tried to draw a knife and it became more like a lighthouse with a beacon. So I sucked. But anyway, the next one was sunrise, which of course was easy to visualize. And then, of course, then the images started coming at sunrise, and then clear water. And then a boat or an armada, maybe a boat, maybe an armada, I don't know what. So what I wrote was, he's been juggling those balls in the air. At least he can see the manifest sender, the manifest message, and the manifest method. But he's not willing to renege on the social contract, even 100 million years later. The betrayal, in retrospect, seemed like a sunrise, like he can only see the clear waters of his childhood. Is his armada here or yet to come? Maybe not or, and. Sorry, I couldn't read my handwriting, so it's not as dramatic as it was in my head, but
No, it's good. So, you know, it's so interesting, Sandeep, that you come in and you work on your screenplay. You need to take this and put it wherever your file is for your screenplay. I mean, imagine this as a voiceover, and we're seeing your character, you know, walking down a quiet road or sitting. I mean, Sandeep, you are writing your screenplay whether you think you are or not. Every time you get on with me, something comes in that is so part of your story. You're giving me chills. Okay, so will you please acknowledge? Let's see that.
thank you.
Okay, please acknowledge that this thing is getting written no matter what you want to do, and every time you show up, things happen. All right, we're going to applaud at the end, Andres, and now you're up. So what did you write? Andres, your turn.
So Christina, I'm not a writer either, but this is very powerful. All right, so I want to improve the communication with my husband to reach agreements about how to better organize the kitchen, the closet, and bring a new drawer. Mother-in-law is the most difficult subject. I will suck it up strategically because he will give me the green card. It's easier to coordinate the repairs and sex, understand what each one likes, plan our outings together, and a schedule that works for both of us. These are all lighter subjects that mother-in-law.
Excellent, bravo. So now let's have a round of applause for everybody today, then we'll talk about this, okay? Excellent, and we're gonna wrap this up because we've gone long. So Andres, okay, here's what's interesting. You have answered your creative unconscious has given you the solutions, has cut past all the crap and just given you a laundry list of what you need to do. Isn't that amazing? I think that's amazing. Just number those tasks and do them. Okay, so we're going to close because we've gone long, and thank you. I hope you come back in 2 weeks for part 2 of this. And we'll be, you know, working again on this. Now, one thing I want to just leave you with here is that the thing to do after you have an experience like this, and this is not a light experience for anybody, and I think I am awed by your courage. I got to tell you something. I think you guys are all just brave beyond compare. Yeah, I think I'm brave for teaching it, and I think you're brave for coming in and sharing the experience. The important thing, and the way that you navigate through this, so Elizabeth, because I know you got this was quite a thing for you because you're, you know, this is new. When you get off, here's what you do. You say thank you to whatever force it is within you that is bringing you to a possibility of a new level of happiness. Just say thank you. And Christina, if you just write that one word down, your power will be so present, you won't believe what happens the next day. Everybody will be lining up to do what needs to be done. You will have no confusion. And who am I saying thank you to? There's all this stuff about gratitude. Okay, now this is a personal beef. I hate that word because it implies you're groveling and you're praying and that there's some hierarchical being that you're, you know, you're supposed to be humble to. You know, my experience is the only people who want you to be humble are people who run religions, not the creator of those religions. Okay, that's my approach. And I'm a person, I always say, if you have an idol, give me a hammer and I know what to do. All right, I don't like worshiping things. I'm a rebel. But here's the deal. I have a little post-it note in my bathroom when I go to the bathroom, when I go in to brush my teeth or whatever, and I recommend that you do this. It just says, what can I appreciate now? Forget the word gratitude. That's going to get you back into another rabbit hole. What can I appreciate? And you can get off the phone, even though this was very difficult for you to listen. You can say, wow, I appreciate my self-love, that I had the nerve, the courage, right? Same thing for everybody here. It was none of the stuff was lightweight. All right. I mean, for Sandeep to actually create the screenplay is the same thing of you ladies dealing with the marriage. It's the same level of personal commitment. So don't mistake it for anything less or more. Okay. And so that's, and what you've seen is how a tool like this will give you different modalities. In other words, Andres, who is in fact a highly effective therapist, solved his own problems because that's what he does for a living. He solves problems. So he decided to solve his. Right. Right. Sandeep is taking his creative unconscious, rushing and saying, oh, great, I can write. I have 2 minutes. I can actually get some of my writing done. I'm going to grab it. Okay. Right. Elizabeth and Marlene, you allowed yourself to see a situation that has probably existed for many years, which is very brave. And in that moment, because you were in a state of acknowledgement, you were not defending your choices. Do you understand? We heard Beth defending her choices. Oh, it's petty. I shouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm saying. You didn't do that. Your creative unconscious took you to a place where you could acknowledge that this is what you've been living with. That to me is courage. To acknowledge a situation that's not ideal is courage. To actually acknowledge it, you're not making a value judgment. You're not putting yourself down. You're not having that self-esteem conversation. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done this. You know, oh no, the answer is shut up, like my cat, and let me deal with the fact that whatever it is that the situation is, it's not making me happy. Okay, maybe you want to write that down. All right, this is worth writing down. In other words, whatever it is, if it's not making me happy, then it needs to be at least acknowledged. Does that make sense, Marlene? And you can see why you might use the active imagination of rewriting this scene or what you've written to suit you better. Make sense?
Yeah.
So what will make it okay, and what will make you feel reintegrated, and this is really, I'm really speaking because that was a big one, and Christina, okay, is say thank you. You're not being grateful. You're not like, oh, thank you. You're like, thank you, self. You did this. There was an opportunity and you took it. To me, that is the ultimate act of self-love. There was an opportunity. Everybody here demonstrated self-love on the level that we need to live it. There was an opportunity and you took it. Okay, what you do about that is not important. What's important is that you have tonight done something that is incredibly brave, and you have proved to yourself that you are enough. Does that make sense? You cannot take it back. It's too late. Okay, and on that note, let's do the hug, and then we're going to move on, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Ready? Okay, on your bones, please. Okay, up. Breathe. Come around. Bubble. You're safe. You're in here. You're appreciating yourself. You're gonna be whoever you want to be now after this conversation. Close your eyes and say very tenderly, "I love you" in your name. I love you, Elizabeth. I love you, Beth. I love you, Marlene. I love you, Simon. I love you, Christina. And I love you, Jing, who wrote that she was sorry she had another meeting. We'll always be together. You feel that we'll always be together. That part of you that came out tonight is the part is referenced in the we. Okay, that part of you that just took the opportunity, Sandeep, to get a scene on paper. That's the we. Okay, we'll always be together. We'll always be safe, and we are. Let's say it all together. We are.
We are enough.
One more time. We are.
We are enough.
Okay, let's applaud and we'll say goodnight. Great people. I feel honored. Can't wait 2 weeks. I'll see you then. And again, if anybody wants to have a follow-up conversation with me, because this was so deep, just send me an email and we'll set up a time. Okay. Beth, I'm going to give you a call for 2 seconds when we hang up, right?
All right, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you all. Bye.